Hello. So I'm doing this video today on my 2025 stationery favorites. So it'll be like fountain pens and ink and paper and accessories and such. And to start it off, I'm going to talk about my most used fountain pens. So this little rickshaw case holds my daily writers. So these two pens I use every single day because I use them in my journals, and they are from two of the most sort of probably famous fountain pen names, which is Sailor and Platinum. And the reason I use these is because they are so reliable. They never dry out. They write well every time. I use this little Sailor Pro Gear in my 5-year diary, so I just write a paragraph a day using this, and I just love the experience. It's such a little pen, almost too little for me. I like bigger pens, but I find for quick writing and just for that paragraph of text, it's kind of, I don't know, it's luxurious, it's beautiful to write with. This is a Sailor Fine, which compared to my other sort of maker pens and Twisbys and such, this is very fine, but for the little space that I have to write, it is absolutely perfect. And I actually got this for a really good deal on eBay a couple of years ago, and I have not bought any more since because they are just so expensive. But if you have been thinking about getting one, I prefer the Sailor Pro Gear sized compared to the Pro Gear Slim. Unfortunately, they don't come out with all the pretty resins that they do for the Pro Gear Slim, but this one is serviceable. I think it's super classy. The gold nib is just absolutely beautiful. The hype is real for these. It is definitely a different writing experience from other nibs for me. I don't know if you can see on here, but it is a really sort of tapered nib, and I think that makes it kind of more flexible. So it's just really quite a lovely experience. It's a super wet writer for a fine, and I really enjoy it. So I use this every day. The next one that I use every day is for my morning pages, and this is the Platinum 3776 Century in the Chalonceau White. And this one is just another super reliable pen. It never dries out. I do switch and swap my inks in this because I like to play around with it, so I will sort of half fill it with an ink and I will do my morning pages. And if you don't know what those are, it's pretty much I'll get up in the morning and I will just, brain dump anything that's in my brain. And I do anywhere from half a page to 2 pages, depending on how much I can be bothered doing. But it's a really good practice to get into because it gets the thoughts out of your head, and often it's just, it's just trash. It's just stuff that I've been thinking about, mostly about myself or about situations, and I am not going to really go read it again. I just sort of write it down and get it out of my system, and then I don't really have to revisit it, but it is really quite nice for clearing your brain at the beginning of the day. So these are my 2 journaling pens that I use every day, and I absolutely love them. The other pen that I use is the Platinum Meteor. So this is just a variation of the Platinum Preppy, just a cuter body. It has the same grip section and nib as the Platinum Preppies. And I have these both filled with carbon black ink, and I use these for sketching. So I have them in my 2 different kits. Actually, I have a couple more as well, but these are the ones that I use the most. And so these get used almost daily, depending on whether I sketch every day. But yeah, so I have some really expensive ones and then some super cheap ones. So these ones are in the hundreds and these ones are in the tens. I think you can get them for about $7 to $12, depending where you get them. Yeah, so these are my most used fountain pens for 2025. All right, so the next 3 pens I have are my most loved pens for 2025. So that means aesthetically, and I love writing with them. So first up we have my Esterbrook Estie. So this is in the tortoise, and it originally came with a journaler's nib on it, but I have switched it out for a Wancha nib that I got on AliExpress. So this is kind of like a zoom nib. It didn't actually name what it was, but it just gives you a lot of line variation and delivers a lot of ink, and I just really enjoy this one. Then next up is my Bone Crusher 7 Studios, which is in the Strata Quartz, and this is in a satin finish. I got this, I think maybe in 2024. It was my first maker pen, and I just love the texture of it. I love writing with it. I have a Osprey zoom nib on this one. So when I'm writing letters, I tend to write quite largely. When I'm journaling or planning, I write quite small and use a fine nib and tend to sort of control my writing a little bit. When I'm letter writing, I kind of write in a different style, and I like to have a sort of a fatter nib or something with some more variation. So this zoom nib from Osprey, not sure if you can see that there, it's very similar to the other nib that I just showed you from Wancha, but you can get some thick lines. You can sort of hold it up straight like this, and you'll get some very thin lines, and just writing with it just gives it, you're writing a little bit more character. So I really enjoy this for letter writing and free writing. Just really, really lovely. And last up is my Papa J Studios pen in the Jade Mermaid. And as you can see, this is delightful. And I just get so much joy from writing with this. It has a fine Bock nib, so a little bit more precision than you get with the other two nibs and a little bit more controlled writing. But I just love using it. It just brings me joy every time I get it out. And I find I'm just sort of more inspired when I'm writing with all three of these. I have a lot of beautiful pens, but these are the ones that I'm drawn to the most, and they have kind of the nibs in it that I like to use the most. Next up are just my honorable mention, which is my Banoop collection. I must admit that they are all fantastic writers. Some of these I've had for longer than others, but I do find myself picking these up, and I often I have a little display case, and I'll often just walk past and look at them, and they're kind of like, you know, having a piece of jewelry. They're so beautiful to look at, and I get so much joy from looking at them. They are incredible writers. I have mostly fine nibs on these. I do have a flexible fine on the Haute, and then I have a stub on the Sunstone here, the Tessera. But I think all my Euphorias have fine nibs. I just find them such a pleasure to write with, super reliable, they don't dry out, they're just a fantastic pen. I just wanted to mention them because I think they're a great addition to any collection, and you can't really go wrong. So I just wanted to show you all the bling. Okay, so next up are my most used fountain pen inks. So these ones are kind of the boring ones. They're my most used ones. They are my favorites also, but I just wanted to show you them because they're utilitarian. They work fantastically. I use this carbon black ink from Platinum in my sketch pens. It is waterproof. It's a pigment-based ink, super reliable. It can clog your feeds a little bit. In the preppies that I have, I just keep refilling them and I haven't really had an issue. But fantastic ink if you're going to do archival journaling or sketching and doing watercolor over the top. Highly, highly recommend this. Then my other one is Waterman Inspired Blue. And I also have decanted some into this little thing here, and I use it to test my nibs, or when I'm working on a nib or something, I will dip it in here to see what it looks like, because it's a very reliable ink. It is well lubricated, writes really beautifully, is a gorgeous bluish teal color. I think it's quite highly underrated. It is an excellent performing ink. The color is gorgeous, and yeah, so it's probably one of my most used inks in 2025 and probably going forward. Next up are the inks that I love using the most. So these are not my sort of utilitarian inks. These are ones that I find absolutely beautiful and am drawn to put in pens all the time. So first up we have Anderillium Tulip Moth Warm. I got this at my first pen show in San Francisco. I wanted to get all of their inks, but I was really drawn to this one because it is a beautiful sort of pinkish brown color, and I use it all the time. I often put it in my Bone Crusher 7 because it has a very similar colorway. Very reliable ink, and I just absolutely love this color. It's probably my all-time favorite ink and color. Next one is a giant bottle of this Ferris Wheel Press Moss Park Green. I actually got a sample a long time ago and didn't really think much of it, but I put it in a pen, and I find myself gravitating towards this a lot now. It is a very soft, beautiful, sagey green, quite light, but beautifully understated. And I just find it's lovely for letter writing and journaling. Probably not the most visible ink, but absolutely beautiful. And this last one is kind of along those same lines, and it is Sesame Oil from Lennon Toolbar. I pined after this ink for such a long time. Last year, before I bought a bottle, I got a sample from an ink friend and in an ink swap, and just fell in love with it. It is quite a light ink, but I don't know, I think when you have it in a wetter pen, it's very easy to read. It's just when you have it sort of in the drier pen, it is a little bit light, but love this. I have it in one of my Twisbees and I just keep refilling it because it's so beautiful. Performs well, love it. Just think these inks, all three of these, are just absolutely beautiful. Very soft, understated. I tend to gravitate towards those the most and end up collecting colors that are very similar, but I suspect a lot of people do that. Next, these are my two most used and favorite shimmer inks from 2025. They are both first wheel press, and I might be a little biased because I am an ambassador for them, so I tend to get a lot of their inks and get to try a lot of their inks. So I do tend to use them a lot, but I have had a lot of samples of different shimmer inks throughout the year, and these are the ones that I definitely use the most. I believe I have the Bookkeeper's Brass in my Papa J Studios pen, and it doesn't really matter what the color of the ink is in this because the shimmer is pretty much all you see. It really dominates and it is absolutely gorgeous. It is sort of this honey brown shimmer color. On the packaging here, it looks a little bit green. It isn't really, it's much warmer. So it's just a beautiful, beautiful ink. And the other one that I probably use the most is Wayfinder's Slate. And this is a beautiful sort of color like in the background here. It sort of varies in the shading from this darker taupey color to a lighter one. And then the shimmer is silver and it's just absolutely beautiful. It's so classy, it's so readable. It's just lovely, and I tend to use these colors mostly for writing to pen pals and letters and journaling, and I just love them both. I have this one in a really cheap little vintage Schaefer that I have on my desk, and I just use it. I just grab it and write notes with it. Silly plastic. It's it seems like a trash pen, but it writes really great. So I keep it filled with this and I just grab it to write notes while I'm at my desk. It's a little bit of luxury in such a cheap little pen, but it works fantastically. So these are my most used shimmer inks from 2025. And then I have a couple of colors which are sort of honorable mentions. Colors that I absolutely love that I don't tend to use a lot of, but I always want to use them, but they're either too light or just I can't find an occasion to use them. So my first one is Private Reserve Plum. I just think this is such a delicious color. It is so vibrant and so punchy, and I just am drawn to it all the time. I absolutely love it. I just think it's a great color. Then the other one is Kobe Hydrangea, and I got a little sample of this in an ink swap. I'm almost out, so if anyone wants to do an ink swap with me and give me another sample, I have a lot of first wheel press inks that I can swap with you, so hit me up in the comments. But I absolutely love this color. It just has beautiful shading and variation. I have it in my Bennu Astro Gem right now, and I just absolutely love it. This other one is Van Diemen's Riverbank, and this is a fairly new ink, but I just love the variation in it. It is such a light ink though, so I don't really see myself using it to write much, but I would love to sort of use it in some artwork. I think the colors that break out in here, I want to play with that with some water, and I think it'd be really fun. And then along the same lines is this crazy kitty ink pot butter and strawberry bagel. This is really not a functional fountain pen ink. You can hardly read it, but when you mix it with water, it's just so interesting and fascinating. You can see all this haloing around here. It's an incredibly wacky ink. So I just want to mention these for, obviously I love all my inks, but I have been sort of drawn to these ones the most and have been sort of inspired by these the most. All right, let's talk about paper. So I have a bunch of different papers that I have used throughout the year. I like to sample my inks when I get a new ink on all types of different papers, just so that I can show you guys. Sometimes inks look very different on different papers, and they also either bleed or perform differently. So these are all the papers that I used in 2025. Let's just talk about this one first. So This one, this Canson XL marker paper, is probably my favorite paper from 2025. I do all my ink samples, so all of these ink swatches that I keep in my binders, I use this paper. I would use this paper for everything if it was an appropriate size, but it's just kind of huge, so I have to cut it down. If I could find it in an A5, it is probably the only paper I would use. It just does a fantastic job of showing the sheening, shading, shimmer of inks. It is a pleasure to write on with any fountain pen. So this one I will continue to be using into 2026 and beyond probably, and I highly recommend, if you're swatching inks, this is a fantastic paper to use. I just use my little cutter here, my little Fiskars cutter, to cut it down into appropriate sizes, and I'll do it like I'll batch cut a bunch so I have it for the month, and then I have it ready when I need to use it. But fantastic paper, love it, love it, love it. The other paper that I use very frequently is this Campus Sarasa paper. I have it just in this box here because I use it all the time. This is actually a little trade from an ink swap from Mandy. I'll put her channel below, but she sent me an ink swap and sent all the goodies in this little, I think it's an Archer and Olive, yeah, little Archer and Olive thing, but I just love having it near my desk. It keeps it dust free and I can use it, and it's fantastic. Let me grab the original packaging of this paper. Okay, so here's the original. It's Kokuyo Sarasa paper. It has the little symbol in an oval. The other paper has like a square or something like that, but this is the one that is most fountain pen friendly. So I have a couple of these in the wings. I use it for a lot of sampling and writing samples and things like that. I keep them in these little binders. This is a little Kokuyo binder that I have done all my sort of mixes in. So I just find it performs really, really well. It shows all the properties of the ink, easy to write on. It is somewhat one-sided. I prefer to write on the front. It does work fine on the back, but I think it performs better just on the front. So I have all of these little binders. So I haven't finished this catalog yet, but isn't it just fun to look through? I quite like it. So I have to finish that project. And then this one, this is so I have these little pages that I do samples on, mostly for First Will Press, because I am a creative ambassador and I get at least one ink a month to try out. So these are all the different papers that I just stick on here, and then I'm able to test them all out and show you guys how they perform on all these different papers. For the most part, the color shift is not huge with First Will Press, but there are other inks that really show. As you can see, I have a lot in here that have a lot of different variation. For example, like this kitty ink pot, you can see from the different papers how different this ink changes. So it's just fascinating. I'm a bit of a dork like that, and I just like seeing that, even just for my own pleasure, but also to share with you guys. Yeah, just super duper fun, and this paper is amazing. You can get it in like a blank sheet. I love using the grid pretty much under the blank because you can see through it a little bit, so I don't tend to use this a lot other than sort of behind something as a template. And then they also have lined as well, which I don't tend to use at all. But yeah, the blank one is my favorite because you can really see the ink the best without anything interfering. So that is probably my favorite writing paper of all time. Most used paper also. And then the last paper that I use a lot of is this Midori, this MD paper. I use this for writing letters. So it has this beautiful sort of layout with some lines in the middle and a beautiful amount of space that I can put stickers or draw something. And it's just fantastic. It is very cream, so it does change the color of your ink quite a bit when you're writing. But I also find that quite lovely. I think it sort of adds some warmth and sort of, I don't know, coziness to your letters. Bookkeeper's Brass looks absolutely beautiful on this. So does Wayfinder's Slate. Both of those shimmer inks performs beautifully on this paper. So this is my go-to letter writing paper. How many pages does it have? It doesn't say, but I've had this, I think I bought this last year and I haven't finished using it. Oh, it's 50 sheets. And then I just have some blotting paper that I use. It doesn't completely fit the page, but because the lines are in the middle, it works perfectly for this. So next up are the journals that I used in 2025. The first one is this beautiful Midori 5-year journal. You just have a paragraph of text to write in, and each year for 5 years you just sort of write in the year and the day and just put in a little blurb about what you did that day. So I haven't done it every day, but the paper quality is beautiful. It has a little bookmark here. I have a blotting sheet of paper here so that I can write in it and then close it really fast and get on with life. And I just love the idea of this. It has this beautiful sort of tactile fabric embroidery on here. I do have a cover on it just to protect it because it's going to be around for 5 years. It's a beautiful gift if you wanted to give this to somebody because you date it yourself. They can start using it whenever they want, and it's just a beautiful book. The next one I have is a Kimbo journal. This one is actually dated for the year before last, I think 2024, but I didn't end up using it, so I'm just sort of redating it, and I am using it for my morning pages, so it doesn't really matter. I just write the date over, so I'll just cross this out and then I'll write it here, and then I'll just empty my brain. It is really good paper. I think it's comparable to the Hobonichi. Kimbo is kind of a strange brand because their paper does vary from booklet to booklet, so sometimes it's a bit of a hit or miss. I actually also have this one here, which I'll talk about in a second. Great for fountain pens, and I'm glad I found a use for it because I wasn't very good at journaling in 2024. This other one I got not to actually journal, but I got it to do some ink swatches. So I started cataloging my ink in here. As you can see, it has that same sort of crinkly sound as Tomoe River. So I was just sort of documenting my ink in here, and then I kind of gave up because I have my binder system and I thought I needed both, and I don't really. I also, in the back of here, I put in when I ink a pen, I'll put in what the pen is and what I inked it with, and then sometimes I'll put a date, sometimes I'll forget, but it's just kind of nice if I have a pen that I haven't used in a long time, I can go back and look through here and I've written it down in some sort of order. And you know, I don't always do currently inks on YouTube, so this just gives me a sort of record of what inks I have. Just super simple, and I kind of like looking back on it and seeing what inks are in here and what I've used. So, and this is a Kimbo as well, so this paper is fantastic as well. Luckily I was able to pick that up. I have a different one that I'm going to use for this year that I'm going to use for photo journaling. I am aware that it's halfway through January and I haven't started it yet, but you know, let's just be nice to each other and not worry about that. Yeah, so I'm going to continue with this. I'm going to continue in this one here for next year, and obviously this one as well. So these are still going through into 2026 and this one obviously beyond, depends how I fill these guys. But yeah, these were my most used favorite journals of 2025. Another favorite that I used a lot of last year was actually, this is a shameless plug for my own stickers, but I have been using my own little stickers a lot last year. I love using them for letter writing, in particular, like these are for journaling. I just created like a little bad day sticker sheet. I actually created all of these to use myself and then thought that other people might want to use them, so I set up a little sticker shop. But these are one that I've been using quite a lot of when I'm letter writing, obviously not for the postage, but they're kind of cute. My little watercolor sketches, I just turn them into little stamp stickers. I love this one for letter writing. So these are, as you can see, I've used quite a bit of them. But they're great just to stick on the corners of your paper, like that Midori paper that I had. It just gives it a lovely sort of little accent. So those are really lovely. I've been using a lot of those. I have some currently inked stickers. I don't have them here. I'll pop up a picture when I'm doing my currently inked. I have a header, so that's really handy. So yeah, I found these really useful as well as other little stickers, but mostly been using my own, which is kind of fun. Alright, so next up is pen cases, and I am a pretty loyal rickshaw pen case gal. I don't really have any other pen cases that I use because I think these are perfect and they do everything that I need to do. So the ones I have here are these Sinclair. So I have a bunch of these Sinclair ones. These are the ones that open at the top. and you can get to your pens here. I think it is super easy, super compact. They never fall out. Even when it's open, they don't tend to fall out. They are encased in this beautiful, soft, plushy fabric. You can put a two holder in the middle here, so you can hold up to 8 pens in here very safely and wonderfully. It is compact, it is wonderful. I absolutely love it. I did consider at one point getting the one where you zip completely open, but I just find this much more secure and decided against it. This is the latest one that I got after I decided I wasn't going to get the one that opens all the way around. I'm sorry, I can't remember what that version is called, but I just think these are fantastic. I ended up getting both of these, I think, in a little pack where you get the 2 and the 1 as well. Oh, what pen do I have in here? Oh, I have my vanishing point in there. I kind of forgot about that one. But you can get them in 3s as well, so 2s. Here's the 2. These are both the long version, and then this is a shorter version that I think I have some mini pens. So I have my little Estabrook Nibbler in here, and my Axis, Monteverde Axis, and then a TWSBI Mini. So, and these are good for Kavecos too. So they're just a little bit shorter than the regular long ones. These ones I think just come in one size perhaps. They're just the 1 pen koozie, and they have the beautiful plushy stuff in here as well. I just think these are fantastically useful and compact, and you can pack up 8 pens and you can just go, and they're nice and protected and safe and easy to find. So these have been a favorite for a long time, not just last year, and I will probably continue to use these as my favorite pen cases going forward. Alright, so let's talk about pen trays. So I have a couple of little pen trays here that I like to use a lot. This little one here I got off, I think maybe AliExpress. It's actually a cigar tray. I think you're supposed to use these in your cigar dehumidifiers or something. Anyway, it was pretty cheap and I thought it would be good for pens, and as it works out, it holds all my pens, which is really quite lovely. And then these little ones here are just ones that I made myself. We go to a family camp each year, and there's a little art grove, and one of my mother-in-laws is a ceramicist, and so she brings clay and we all get to make clay, and they have like a little kiln there and they fire it. So I just sort of handmade these weird little pen trays and pen holders. I actually made these ones I think for paintbrushes, but they work out really well at holding pen pieces as well. But this little one, I mean, it's a little wonky, but it's super cute and understated, and I really like it. These ones I just put like a little bit of teal glaze. I just splattered it on there before I fired it, and I think they turned out really nice as well. So they're just sort of like a 1 pen holder. And this one here I like to use for the pen and the lid. If I'm sort of doing inking or something, I'll put it on these pieces. I just think they're really handy and nice. It's always nice to have a little pen tray or a pen holder when you're inking up things or displaying things. So these are my favorite little pen trays for last year. Yeah. So I thought I would just talk a little bit about my ink swatching supplies and how I create my samples and store my samples. First off, I think the most important tool that I use is this little Hokoro dip pen. This is a little pen by Sailor, and I think it gives the most accurate swatches, most similar to coming out of an actual fountain pen. I did buy this little feed separately. You get it free when you get the Fude version. Let me just grab that one. Okay, so this one here has the Fude nib. So this comes free with the feed. I'm not sure why they don't put it on the other ones. I think because you actually have to have more ink flow for the Fude, so it probably wouldn't work very well without it, whereas you can actually just dip. This one is a medium and this one is a fine. You can actually just dip these and you will be able to get some writing out of it, but the Fude probably won't go far. So I ended up buying a separate feed for the medium just because I think it just gets a better amount of ink. I'm not writing a ton, but for swatching out stuff and writing, I just think it's less painful to have to dip again. So I think the investment of a feed is really helpful. I bought this one to put on this fine nib, but you just click them on and they're ready to go. I really like that you can take the nibs off and put them away so that they are protected. So if it rolls off your desk, it's not going to break. They are super easy to clean. They just wash out in water. They do hold a little bit of water between swatchings, but I just use a cotton, 100% cotton flour sack to get off the majority of the water. And I also have these lint-free paper towels, so it doesn't get any lint on the nib or anything, and these really suck the water out. So I try and do quite a good job of drying them out between swatching so that I don't contaminate ink samples and also get the most accurate color. So that's the swatching tool that I use. And then another tool that I use is this little glass nib. I just have this little pencil protector I got from Daiso on here. It's really cute and it fits really nice and well on here. It kind of expands to go over that so that the little nib is protected. I don't really use it to write anything for my samples, but I do use it to sort of scribble some ink so that you can see shading and shimmer really well. So I find that really handy. And then my other tool is a little paintbrush. This is I think it's a number 2 Polar Flow. It's just a watercolor paintbrush. And the key with this is that it doesn't hold a ton of ink. So I'm not there wasting a bunch and washing it out. It rinses out really fast. It looks a little scraggly, but it's perfect for the way that I swatch. So I really find this invaluable. I have a couple of these on hand and they tend to wear down pretty fast, but they are really great for swatching. And this little container here has my watercolor samples. So when I do like a watercolor droplet, I like to add water to the ink to see how it separates. I use these little things that I've just cut up. And then in here, I have the marker paper cut into the size that I need. I have written front on here because that marker paper only really works one-sided. The other side doesn't work very well. So when I cut them up, I have to remember which way that I've cut them and make sure that I keep it that way in here. So the other part of the swatching is the samples. So these are my sample folders. I have a bunch of stickers on here from different vendors and ink swaps and such. I just like to decorate those, which is fun. And so I keep all my samples in these, I think these are like Pokemon sleeve, game card sleeves, and I can rearrange them however I want. I tend to have a page for each color family, and then I can just add them without having to move them around too much. And when I remove an ink for swatching, I have it in here as well, that little one, most of the time, so that I know where to put it back, because that is a pretty laborious job. If I take a bunch out, I have to be able to put them back in order. And it's not the funnest thing in the world. I tend to stack them up quite a bit before I put them back. But I find this system really easy to sort of look for similar inks in the same family. Yeah, so I have a couple. This is my newer one, so it's not as decorated as much. But same system, just these binders of all of the different colors. And yeah, I find it really dorky but rewarding and a super easy way to keep track of all the ink samples I've tried. All right, so let's talk ink vial holders. So I have a couple of different types of ink vial holders. Let me grab some vials so I can show. So these weird looking things are makeup holders, I think, so like lipstick holders, but they work fantastic for holding your ink vials, and they hold on to them quite tightly actually. So these are great. I got these on Amazon. I've bought a couple over the years. I started off with this green one, and then I got this big one here for creating ink samples so that I can hold more vials than just the 8. But let me show you underneath here what this is. This is just a little silicone cover. So if you happen to spill your ink, you can just open this up. This is probably dirty in here. Oh, actually I did put a paper towel in here because I have spilt in the past, and it's just easier having that to clean it up. So it just is a empty compartment here, and then these sort of create the spaces that you can hold things in, but pretty slimline, very light, easy to stack. I find these are really helpful. You can also use these little ones for cartridges. I'm not sure that I have a cartridge on hand. If you wanted to clean out a cartridge or something, you can also put pen pieces in here so the sections sit really nicely in here if you wanted to do that. If you're cleaning or drying pens, it's a really easy way to do that. They don't hold pens particularly well because they're not really deep enough, but the pen parts are fine, and ink vials and cartridges are good in here. So these little guys over here, these cute little cats and a little polar bear, they're getting pretty dirty now. I like to leave the sticker on the bottom because otherwise it just goes right through. So I've left the stickers on there, so they get pretty dirty. But these are actually toothbrush holders from Daiso, but they are perfect for holding ink vials, and really nice and stable. I tend to, when I create my ink vials for swaps, I put the label at the top because often you can't see it if it's down low, but these are perfect for that. You can just see the label, gives it plenty of room. So I love these little guys. I also have another one here, which is the same thing. This is a toothbrush holder as well, just not as cute, a little bit more minimalist. And this beautiful one here was handmade by Gary Hanefi, I think. And this was a beautiful gift from my pen friend Jane Williamson. She has a lovely little YouTube channel too, so I'll put a link to her channel in the description below. She has really fun unboxings and lots of nib testings and ink swatching, really fun channel. But she sent me this in an ink swap, and it's absolutely lovely. And what I really like about it is that it's so shallow, so it really only just covers the bottom of the vial here, and it is quite stable still, so it's just really nice because no matter where the label is on here, you're going to be able to read it. So I really like that one. And this one I got from an ink friend too. This is from Bailey. She 3D printed this along with an awesome 3D printed Ferris wheel press bottle holder. This thing is amazing. I am looking forward to when she starts selling these. She hasn't opened her shop yet. I'm not sure if she's actually going to, but I think she should sell them. They're really good. They really stabilize those Ferris wheel press bottles. But this one is fantastic because you can put 3 in here. You can also put one on its side. I don't tend to use this function very much, but it is super handy if you were trying to get into the bottom of a vial. But I really do like having these 3 wells here instead of just the one or the big one here. It's just a convenient size. So these are all my favorite little ink vial holders from last year. Super handy when you're creating ink swaps or just doing a day of ink sample swatching. Okay, so let's talk accessories, and first up let's talk some clips. So I am a huge fan of the Penco Clampy, and they've been super duper handy. They open pretty wide. You know, you can put it on your journals and they won't eat into the page very much. Like I don't think that will even leave a mark. Yeah, so they're kind of one of the most gentle yet effective clamps that I have. So I really turn to these the most. You can say put it on the side of a journal just to sort of weigh it down. They are quite lightweight, but they tend to do a good job, and they're quite wide, so you are not getting just a little bit of the book, you're getting a lot of it sort of clamped open or clamped down. So I really do appreciate that. Yeah, they come in a whole bunch of different colors. I think they came out with some sort of glittery ones and neon ones, but they're very, very useful and I like them a lot. Another super helpful accessory that I have are these little cartridge syringes. I made these probably a couple of years ago. If you want a tutorial on how to do this, let me know and I will post one. But simply they're just a syringe with the proprietary cartridge on the end, so it makes it easy to clean your nibs faster on your pens. So these are invaluable. I've been using them for the last couple of years. Yeah, so let me know in the comments below whether you want me to do a little tutorial making these. They're pretty simple and straightforward. You can probably work it out, but I am happy to make one if you want to see the materials that I use. But yeah, super easy, very convenient, and makes the cleaning of your pens a little bit faster. And one last thing I wanted to mention are these little tools that I use for creating ink samples. So in this little box, I just got this little box from Daiso, I have my empty ink vials and my little pipetter. So this was probably the favorite thing that I got last year. I think I got it for Christmas in 2024. And then I bought some extra little pipettes because like sometimes I'll do an ink swap of about, you know, anywhere between 8 to 20 different samples, and you can just easily switch these out and wash them later. They rinse out super fast, much faster than an ink pipette, and the water dries much easier. So I never really use these anymore. I always use this little pipette machine. and it's just the handiest tool if you're doing a lot of ink swaps or creating ink samples. Also, I couldn't live without my little Nimbot D11. I've had this for several years. It's still a favorite of mine for labeling inks, and when I get a new bottle of ink, I just put it into the app, I write it all in, and then I've got this label for whenever I need to swap a sample of it. So I think that's it for my favorites from 2025. Thank you so much for dropping by and joining me on this kind of chatty video. It's a pretty long one. Hopefully it was helpful and you found some new things that you want to try. Feel free to put in the comments any of your favorites from last year or things that you're excited to try out this year. I always love to find out new things that make it easier or just more enjoyable. So again, thanks a lot, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!